now when I run games for kids, I have to remember what my interests were when I first started playing. I had no interest in being talked down to. I had no interest in, like, kitty corner adventures. All of my little friends were like, I'm a nasty lizard man with 4 axes. I think people forget that children in their imaginations probably aspire to adulthood.
Hello again, it's me, here to tell you more about my dorky obsessions. What, did you think I was done? So we've been through some of the basics of Dungeons & Dragons and how it can be a fun, exciting way to break out of all the restrictions we have on us right now. But that's not all! Through playing D&D recently, I have been using more mental muscles than I have been using years. And I just keep thinking about how much better off I would be if I had started playing when I was a kid. Lucky for you, dear viewer, if you have a child in your life, or I guess if you are a child, this is your chance to bestow upon them the amazing advantages that will set them up for life. Let me explain.
I think a lot of learning is kind of mimicry when you're a kid. It's like, okay, I need to have seen someone do this to kind of get an idea of what I'm trying to do, right? Actual plays have made that a little bit easier because you can at least watch and be like, okay, that's the shape of what we're trying to do. But back in the day, it's like, if you don't have someone to teach you how to play the game, you're just getting these books and you're like, what does it look like when we play? What are we supposed to sound like?
I grew up in Colombia, South America. My mother was an English teacher, and she suggested that I try this game, Dungeons & Dragons, that the kids were playing, who were a little bit older than I was at school as a club. The writing in Dungeons & Dragons has always been very rich and evocative, full of words that you had to look up if you wanted to know what they meant.
You really can't overstate how many useful skills that you cultivate from role-playing in these type of games. Problem solving, cooperation.
There are lots of math skills in D&D. I know kids that are 11 and 12 that know probability because they know that a longsword on average deals 4.5 points of damage plus your strength modifier.
It's really fun as a way to like build a team and make friends and make sure that you're speaking up for yourself so that everybody gets their turn and everybody gets what they want out of the game.
D&D also affords kids this ability to imagine a level of agency that it is not appropriate for them to have in their own day-to-day life. You know, if a 6-year-old is like, hey, I'm going to move to Boston, you obviously can't let that happen. Agency is a skill that needs to be honed over time. Like, you need to practice choice making. When I was 15 years old, I was doing this live action adventure. My PC leader died, and they got hit by a monster, and they were carrying the object that in the game world was like, this is the thing everyone is chasing. And I grabbed it and ran and hid in the forest. And I remember having this moment where out of game, Brennan was like, there's no adults here to tell me what to do. And then I went back to 15-year-old Brennan, who was playing a full adult wizard. And I was all by myself. Monsters came out. I did this spell, teleported past them. Another monster showed up outside the portal, killed them with a little fireball, and threw this thing into the portal. And I don't know how to say it other than it completely rewired my brain. And I think about how much worse off I would have been if I hadn't had that like transformative experience through role-playing.
So clearly, there are so many advantages that D&D and roleplay can cultivate. But so what, I hear you say? It's not like this dumb hobby is going to get my kid into college. Well, you might be surprised.
Hi, I'm Cassie Christensen. I'm a high school senior, now graduate.
And I'm mom, too, said Cassie. She had a lot of behavioral issues as a child. She was diagnosed as ADHD and ODD at the age of 5 and really struggled socially throughout school. But once she found D&D, it was like a whole new kid. We are both very active in the theater community. A couple of years ago, I was doing a production of Neil Simon's The Odd Couple, the female version. And a couple of my friends that were in it kept talking about games that they were involved in. And it was really interesting. And I came home after a show one night and said, oh, we're going to start this new game. I got to build a character. I got to figure out how to do all this. And Cassie says, I want to learn. I wasn't surprised that she wanted to pick up something nerdy because we come from a nerdy family. That's what we do. She really took off from it more so than I did. She DMs now 2 to 3 games a week sometimes.
The bullying definitely kind of forced me to build up my walls pretty high when you have a very well-knit group, it helps you to open up a lot more. You realize that, hey, if these fictional characters that are in a story that I've created can do it, I can let people in, I can handle it.
Now she's a social butterfly, and 2 years ago, I couldn't get her to leave her bedroom. When she started applying for college, I had seen a joke online about you can use D&D in a college application. And I said, hey, Cassie, look at this. You know, if you think about it, you do a lot with numbers because of her being a DM. It's group leadership. We got the big package telling us she was accepted to Adrian College. And a week later, we got this little envelope. And it was a letter telling her that they had awarded her the Dean Scholar Award for leadership. Since then, she has been awarded at least 3 other scholarships. I think last time I told it out, she's basically almost sitting on a free ride. The college is just so amazed with all of her leadership skills, and it solely comes from her DMing D&D games.
So you want to get your kid involved. Where do you even start? In a typical summer, various programs are usually available. Live-action roleplay camps like the Wayfinder experience, and yes, even D&D camps.
D&D camp is a thing that happens. Like, kids go to their local game store, their local library, and they learn how to play D&D, and they play with the same group of kids every week or every day during the summer. When lockdown was happening, we were seeing online that it was really affecting people with kids. Just our kids are around us all the time. Also, that camps weren't happening.
I just started designing games full time, and I had been a teacher for 13 years. But I was talking to a lot of friends, and they were like, well, the school year is really, really difficult, but it'll be summer break soon, and then we'll see what happens.
It just kind of light bulb moment of you should be running an online camp and helping people entertain their children.
There's a 5-day curriculum. It's all about learning to tell stories together, working socially, building characters, doing encounters, building a world, and then we've got final boss battles, and then a great award ceremony to wrap the whole thing up. It's one of my favorite things about camp is the awards at the end.
I think it's unlikely we won't do more camp because of how quickly this one filled up, and people are asking for well, can't you just do more?
Right. The problem with a summer camp is that school has to start again. So there's a hard limit kind of at the end.
So yes, summer is drawing to a close, and awesome experiences like the Academy of Adventures are few and far between right now with everything going on. But in case you want to get in on the fun too, why not start your own game at home?
My son, he really is a creative player and more of a gamer type of person. And he and his friends found Dungeons & Dragons probably about 2 years ago. So I ended up running a table for them, 6 8th grade boys. Not that I really ever felt like D&D was completely uncool, but it just wasn't cool. I think in his 8th grade class, there were 4 different groups of his classmates playing Dungeons & Dragons. And so for him to be able to say that my dad wrote an official book was really cool for him. When you create a game for 8th graders, they will do things like name their characters Uncharted Donkey, Whoa Stinky, Cindric the Wonder Boy, and tell me more about your character. And Cindric says, well, I love cheese. Because apparently in real life, he really likes cheese.
I ran a 6-episode adventure called The Slumbering Forest for the show that D&D Beyond does called Roll in the Family. And it's basically 6 episodes of a very sweet fairy tale story in a kind of funny, quirky fairy tale world where we had grown-ups and their kids playing D&D together.
My name is Kaylin Walters, and I'm playing Trinity, a Wood-Elf Ranger. And I got myself stuck in a footways.
I'm talking, and I'm like, okay, Kaylin, so you're going to be a ranger. And there's different kinds. You can have an animal companion that's your best friend, or you could be this shadowy ganker. And she's like, ganker. And then with Lexi, I'm like, so you're a paladin. You could be about healing people and forgiveness, or you could be about getting revenge and punishing the guilty. She's like, revenge. And then she's like, can I be from the underworld? And I'm like, yeah. Also, you two are my children. Yes. Roll in the Family, The Slumbering Forest was the first time that we'd all played together.
I like playing because I feel like it's a way to escape from everything going on in the world, and just a fun way to take a break from all the electronics.
And I like playing D&D because it's really fun to be creative in that game. You can really build your character how you like it.
Going into the Slumbering Forest was a lot of fun, realizing that there's so many different ways to play D&D.
Just getting to see them be in positions of leadership, being in positions of power, having those experiences are the most important reasons why these tabletop games are so valid and vital, I think. And I recommend highly, not just for all kids, but also for all adults.
I can't wait to play D&D with my kids. As soon as a chubby little baby hand can pick up that D20, we're golden.
Parents who want to try playing D&D with their kids, the main tip I would give is to just start with very, very short sessions.
You probably got to do maybe like a little more rules light version of it.
It is okay to set realistic consequences, but sand off the sharp edges a little bit.
Just ask them, what's your favorite movie? Who's your favorite character in that movie? Build something around that and have some fun. It will be an adventure that will connect and unite your family like nothing else.
We've really developed some strong friendships and got to know people that we may not have gotten to know as well. It's really changed our entire lives from the little hermit crabs in our closet that we were to now, we're constantly doing something.
Games are just a way to make social interaction tolerable for people like me who are like, I don't know what to do when I enter a room. But if I know that we all have a quest, I know what we're gonna do. And I think that there are a lot of kids who also get something out of that.
Kids deserve to see themselves as heroes. They deserve to have those opportunities to be the center of their own story, and it can only be this powerful tool that allows them to grow their creativity, their sense of communication and collaboration, and then to see that heroic agency, to be like, I can make decisions that save the world. And we're going to start with this fictional world because I'm small, but if I learn these skills here, I can start to go out into the world and apply them elsewhere.
So will you accept this call to adventure? We want to keep the conversation going. What other ways have you been connecting with your family this summer? Tell us about it in the comments. And then you can follow us at NBCLX and visit us at lx.com.